Okay, welcome back. Round two. I love this. We're back to back in the afternoon, so everybody's still got high energy. I know we've got plenty of snacks. Margaritas are coming to the stage briefly, so it'll keep us really lively up here. Rather than going through all the introductions for everybody, because they have such storied careers, all of their bios are in the packets you should have for the trade program. If you don't, obviously just raise a hand, let us know. Someone will get you some of the information. But you should have their bios with you, and that will save us some time because we're going to go right into this panel, which is about the power of partnerships and cause marketing and how it's important to align your businesses with causes that are out there that are important to you, but that will also do good. And we're going to go for about 1 hour till approximately 2:30, and then we'll open it up for questions from our attendees. So welcome everybody. And again, my name is Steve Dolinsky, and why don't we start with some information that I got from the folks at Share Our Strength about cause marketing. This was sort of interesting. They found that consumers want to be citizen philanthropists, and philanthropy doesn't require being a millionaire, but rather large groups of passionate people who can make a difference. Consumers want it to be doing more, but as a person's disposable income drops, his or her ability to make philanthropic donations drops. Cause marketing provides outlets for consumers of all financial means to give back, since most programs carry a modest expense to trigger a donation. They want to feel like they're part of something bigger. And I think it would be important to maybe just go through each of our panelists, talk about what you are most passionate about, what you're working on right now. And I want to start with, Mark Murphy, because you are recently a recipient of the Humanitarian of the Year Award from Share Our Strength, which is a very big deal. Maybe talk a little bit about your involvement with them and why you decided to do that.
I would say I go back a couple years. I was reading the Financial Times, and I read an article about charities and a guy who had a huge company and realized he was supporting 40 or 50 charities, and felt like at one point he really wants to do something right and he wants to really focus. So I decided at that time, I do support a lot of charities, but I decided that I was going to take 2 charities and really hone in on them and really try to make a difference. So I chose Share Our Strength, and I chose City Harvest in New York City. New York City being obviously where all my restaurants are and where I live, taking care of the community that I'm in, and also nationally with Share Our Strength. And they both are really about hunger, and well, there's food rescue with City Harvest, and Share Our Strength is really about trying to end childhood hunger right now is the main goal. And it was, I think it really struck me as a dad and as a chef that I just can't imagine people going hungry. And I know there's lots of different causes out there to be, that everybody, and I think I have to applaud our community, our chef community. I think that there's no, I mean, there probably are other communities that do as much, but I think as far as chefs and restaurants and restaurateurs, I really have to take my hat off. It's so amazing the amount of work that we do collectively for different charities all around the world. So I really did, I went with those 2 because they really felt close to me. I wanted to concentrate on them. And then throughout the year, I'll do an event here and an event there, but I'll not do them every year. So it's, that's sort of how I got around to really trying to make a difference. And I felt if I was trying to make a difference, it also, I wanted to go backwards with it, in the sense is getting my community, my staff, my 500 employees to also be part of that. And it's easier to get your staff energized and understand which charities you're supporting if you do hone it down to 2 or 3, because then they really understand when we're running a promotion in the restaurant, or for like Share Our Strength does the Dine Out for Anoki and Hungry Week or a month in September, we do that the whole thing for raising money. It's just that the staff already knows about it.
Okay. David Gordon from Cheesecake Factory, quite a bit bigger operation than the Benchmark Restaurant Group, but nonetheless, you still work with a food-related organization called Feeding America.
We do.
How did that happen, and tell me about that relationship?
Well, back in 2008, we were exploring opportunities that would not just be at a local level, but a national level. It was very important for us to be able to leverage we have 172 restaurants across the country. So we wanted the staff in each one of those restaurants to be able to be participatory in whatever we chose. At the same time, wanted at the company level to be able to contribute financially in a very significant way. And hunger relief is very important to us. We're feeding over 80 million people a year in our restaurants, and to be able to give back around hunger has always been important. We also, at the same time, wanted to ask our staff and the folks that work for us where they thought we should spend some of our energy. We know that engagement is very tied to them being involved in decisions that affect the company. And food relief was very, very important. Feeding America came to us, and we spent a good amount of time, probably 6 months, deciding whether or not we wanted to engage. What was important to us was that we wanted to know that the money we were going to be giving was going to be going directly to local food banks, and also was going to be going to the hungry.
So people in Chicago, when they give to that location, goes to people in that area?
Yes,
okay.
Yes. And that the administrative costs of running a foundation, as we all know, are very expensive. And it's important to us that the majority of money that's being raised is actually going to the needy. And it's not going to administrative cost or running another big organization. And Feeding America gave us that confidence, and we've been able to raise almost $3 million since our partnership started back in 2008. It's been a great partnership.
Jose, Andres, many restaurants around the country now. I know you did something with something called Solar for Hope down in Haiti, and you helped in terms of the cooking, but that led to something else, which has become one of your charities now.
Yeah. Well, over 3 years ago, right after the earthquake, I went to Haiti, and I took with me some solar kitchens. The reason I went was more than to help, was to learn. And I've been in Haiti now like 15, 16 times. And in the process, I've become, with a team of guys, more kind of aware of the reality of a country that is 1 hour away from Miami. So I created World Central Kitchen. My wife and I, we put $50,000, and then I began gathering friends, and we began creating an organization that had really a muscle. And we began doing projects in Haiti that was not only about feeding, but was about opening the door to opportunity to people. So what we began doing was, where I have an opportunity to invest money, where I can create a business that can be sustainable in the future without having to be putting more money. An example. We partner with Partners in Health, one of the best organizations in the world. Paul Farmer from Harvard, Boston, a living legend, one of the best doctors in the world. He has an orphanage with 60, 70 kids. 300 people live in the orphanage because they are all children that they have disabilities. And we built a bakery. So the bakery began running almost 2 months ago. And right now we are producing bread, not only to be feeding the children, but we are selling the bread, and the bread is creating income for the orphanage. That's what World Central Kitchen is doing. Things that have to do, obviously, with cooking, but always seeing the side of not throwing money at the problem. That, unfortunately, that's what we do very often, me first, but try to invest into solutions that are sustainable in the world.
So you decided to create something that wasn't there before for this international organization, and then locally you work with DC Pantry.
Yeah.
Right?
So I had to go back 20 years ago. That this will be the reason why I created World Central Kitchen. 20 years ago, I began working with Share Our Strength, with Bill Shore. But for some reason, I didn't found my place in Share Our Strength. And so I met a guy called Robert Egger. Robert Egger founded 25 years ago an organization called DC Central Kitchen. And DC Central Kitchen is amazing. It was a Humanitarian of the Year 4 or 5 years ago for the James Beard. Robert thought that waste was wrong. So it was simple. He began getting all leftovers food from produce companies, fish companies. He brought them down to a central kitchen. He produced food, and he delivered the food to people that were hungry. But the amazing thing about this was we were taking people out of the streets, still we do today. We've graduated thousands of people. We take people out of the streets. We clean them of alcohol and drugs. We put them through this amazing training. When they graduate, we find them jobs in the community. In the process, they are feeding the hungry. In the process, the restaurant industry, restaurants like mine, we are hiring people that we need to fill up our kitchens. So that's been my experience in DC. I become the chairman of that organization, et cetera, et cetera. But that's why one day I thought, can we put this kind of model that is working so well in Washington to work around the world? And that's kind of what happened in the last 20 years. We went from helping locally to began helping internationally.
So far, it seems like 2 organizations, 1 organization, 2 organizations. Marcus has a couple of organizations, UNICEF, 1 campaign, or 3 goats, also CCAP. So tell me about all these things you're involved in.
Well, I think what's interesting is when you listen to everyone, it's a very personal experience. And it could come from different reasons, right? For me, it starts with, where I was born. I was helped. I wouldn't be here in front of you if it wouldn't have been for some type of charity cause, right? I was adopted and helped by the Red Cross to send to Sweden. So there's something that I constantly is very tangible for me, something I discuss and think about. And with my sister and my wife, we constantly think about how can we give back to Ethiopia, but also do it in a meaningful way so it's sustainable, very similar to what José was talking about. So it's just not, Western Union sending down money with it also takes away a lot of the dignity. So 3 goats, my wife started, and I really with the goal of how can we help young girls create, very basic, get food, have access to clean water, and education. So we do various events throughout the years, and we're very effective with that. We tell stories and we upload it through social media, but it's really a way for us to stay connected to where we were both born. In terms of CCAP, I think that, most fine dining, most restaurants are not in neighborhood. Most of the restaurants are in posher neighborhoods, and then you do charitable causes for a neighborhood such as Harlem. So that strikes me, that's very important to me, to how can we do good in the community with, and you can do that many different ways. One way is giving back, another way is hiring, what José was talking about. So for us being at Red Rooster, being committed to, we have about 130 employees, hiring 70% of them from that community, and it means something right there because you have 19% unemployment in Harlem. So restaurants, you can't really outsource, but it gives a lot of dignity to that community. So CCAP really comes out of that because Careers Through Culinary Arts, it's a nationwide program that Richard Grossman started about 20 years ago. It really helps inner city kids to go learn to life skills through cooking. And most of those inner cities lives in communities such as Harlem. So it really, what I think all 3 of us talk about is really we use about our own personal experience, combined it with the restaurants or the companies we built, and so that locally can have impact, and that ultimately helps globally.
Okay, so I'm going to just open this up to all of you, and in terms of how people open up their wallets, because that's ultimately what you want to happen. A couple of research sources here from a couple of years ago. PR Week, Barclay PR Cause Survey examined cause marketing trends in relation to the economic recession. As consumers cut back on their donations, they're not cutting back on their desire to give. So as cause marketing has become mainstream, consumers believe they could look to companies to partner with to fill the giving gap. And then a year later, another survey came out kind of echoing that, showing consumer demand for cause marketing promotions, but also showing consumers are willing to pay more and travel further to purchase a product or use a company that supports a cause. So how do you get them to open their wallets? Do you have fundraisers at the restaurant? Do you show up at a charity event with a little table and hand out samples? How do you get them to open up their wallets?
I do it a few different ways. One way that is very effective is when you are invited to give a speech somewhere and they tell you, but we have no budget. And you say, great. So I always say, this is my price, and the money is not coming to me, it's coming to a charity. So this works very well in Washington with the World Bank, with the IDB, with all these huge institutions that they never seem to have money for much, but then it's always the way. So I do a few of those a year and works very well. But that's not the way to maintain an organization. The 25th of June, I'm doing my first event for World Central Kitchen in DC. We call it Dine and Dash. So I always love to celebrate even when you are fighting hunger in a positive way and send the positive messages. So Dine and Dash is 7 restaurants downtown DC. Some of mine, some of my friends, that they're closing for the night, and during 4 hours, you'll be able to go to the 7 restaurants, drinking, eating. And I'm planning, hopefully, if that goes well, to do 20, 30, I'm dreaming of 50 restaurants.
And all the proceeds go.
And all the proceeds goes to World Central Kitchen. And then for DC Central Kitchen, when I was the chairman 10 years ago, 8 years ago, we created, actually this year is the 10th anniversary, the Food Fight, which we have some of my friends. Anthony Bourdain is coming every year. Andrew Zimmern has been coming. Tom Kolik has been coming, where we put kind of an Iron Chef style. 4 chefs, they compete, semifinals, final, live competition, and we're getting to 100 people a day. We've been raising $500,000 every year for the last 10 years for DC Central Kitchen.
So making it
these
fun.
events that are fun, that you have the opportunity to sell the message, but in a festive way. Me, sometimes to do it in the restaurant, when the people are eating, and used to tell them, by the way, don't eat today, and this money will go to the charity. Me, I don't believe in that. I believe it's moments to tell them, now I want you to think about this. Now is when I want you to support this organization. So that's why I like to organize these events, that once a year you concentrate the people that you want their support in one room to sell exactly what you are doing, to sell where are you going, and so to tell them, and I need your financial support.
Okay.
So
At Cheesecake Factory, you're not doing the events as much as just donating a portion of everything sold,
Yeah,
right?
and we really try and do that as subtly as we can. To Jose's point, that people are out to dine and relax and have a good time and enjoy, and you have to be careful when you're asking. So we've trained our staff and our servers to subtly, at the end of the meal, the power of cheesecake is a very powerful product and very powerful for our brand. So at the end of the meal, when they're talking about their favorite cheesecake, they also mention that proceeds from a particular flavor, generally the flavor that we launch on National Cheesecake Day. If you didn't know, there's a National Cheesecake Day.
When is that?
It's July 30th,
Okay.
coming up this year. We found out ourselves about 2005. We didn't invent it, didn't make it up. But at the end of the meal, when we're talking about the cheesecake that we've launched for National Cheesecake Day, we will just let them know that proceeds from that, a portion of the proceeds from that slice of cake go towards Feeding America and those who are food insecure. And this year, we're also partnering with Share Our Strength, and so those proceeds will be going to both funds. So we really try and do it very subtly and still make sure that guests are understanding the part of the sharing experience at Cheesecake, because our menu is so vast. We want to have something for everybody, and there are people there that want to give back, that really want to, even in tough times, be able to reach out to those who are in greater need than themselves.
This is clearly
Like
Jose
a big round of
Andrés.
applause.
Perfect
people.
timing.
Thank you, Sarah. Big hand for Sarah from Baltz and Company.
That's the other way we get them to open their wallets. We
Yeah.
get people
And
drunk.
now,
I've had a few cocktails.
and now I
$5
understand.
per margarita.
I understand why they put our names behind this big sign of American Express, to remember who we are after we drink. I mean, come on, people.
That's great. Cheers to charity. Fantastic.
Man.
I'm glad you thought of that, Jose, not me.
I mean,
Steve,
I'm thinking,
Right.
I
Yeah,
am
okay.
who I am.
I have something to add to it.
It's me.
Jose.
All right. Thank you, Jose. Thank you for that
Sorry.
interlude. Thank
Now
you,
you
Sarah.
can keep talking.
Okay. Marcus wants to add to that. Go ahead.
No, but I think engagement, you can do engagement in so many different ways, right? And especially now when we have new media, right? And I think that we learn from other other venues of that, whether it's a band, whether it's online, you can contribute very easy. You know, as chefs, we do all of the above. I'm speaking on behalf of City Harvest for something, and giving speech is one way, but it's not a way to sustain a business. But there's so many different ways that you can engage. And using the power of social media, I think we should not put it aside as something small. It's very, very powerful and works really great in
Give me
terms
an
of
example.
engagement.
Give me an example.
Well, I mean, I think for Three Goats, for example, we want to make sure that it was very transparent and constantly talk about new prices that we have. And we did a short film that we uploaded and talked about a lot. And people can be part of Three Goats for $20. They can buy something for $20. Up to thousands of dollars is up to them. But I think that it's not just $150,000 dinner with chefs. That's great that we can do. Great that we can do that. but it's also the $20 opportunity and the engagement and get people engaged in the conversation.
Okay. And Mark, you want to add to this? How would
I think that you're specifically asking about how do we get people to open up their wallets. I think that is one thing that we try to do when we talk about charities, but a lot of it is just awareness. I think there's a lot of times that if they're not opening their wallets, but at least you make them aware of it, and maybe they're not going to give then or they're not going to give next week, but they're aware that this issue, any of the issues that we're talking about are out there, and someday, somehow, they might get engaged with us. We just have to keep talking about the different causes, and I think that's very important.
I want to take 2 giant steps backward. Before we even get to this conversation, you have to assess a charity. And I'm sure you get approached by lots of people. I can imagine somebody calling up the headquarters in Calabasas and saying, "Hi, Cheesecake Factory, we know you're a large company, we want to partner with you." Or, your group, the Think Food Group is huge too. It's larger than one unit. Yep. So how do you assess, if there's people in the audience here who have 1, 2, many restaurants, how do they assess, 501c3, what are they looking for? What do you look for before you decide to partner up with somebody?
I think any great restaurateur, any great chef is going to look at vendors in general and make sure that every vendor you choose is the highest quality, has the highest product, has integrity. And I think when you're thinking about this particular aspect of charity and who you might want to partner with, it's that same level of detail to understand everything about that company. You have to understand who they've worked with before, actually what their true commitments are that you're going to make to them and they're going to make back to you. You're going to do some research and find out who else they're dealing with and make sure and reach out to those folks, make sure that they're meeting their commitments and you understand again what they're going to be asking of you. And then obviously there's the financial work that you can do in the background to really make sure that they're stable. They have a good background, that the funds that they have claimed are going to go particular places are going to those in need. So for us, we treated it just like any other vendor relationship we have, which is incredibly important. And we spent a lot of time, probably up to 6 months, doing our homework and making sure that Feeding America really, truly was the partner that we wanted to partner with then. And now that we're partnering with Share Our Strength as well, we did that. Obviously, they're a wonderful organization doing great work. And this year, we really wanted to start that partnership because of the work they're more recently doing around children. But I would go back to that vendor relationship, and you can't take it lightly. It's very important. It's important to your whole organization. For us, there's 34,000 staff members who are looking at those partnership choices we're making, and they're thinking about the company in a different way. So I wouldn't take it lightly. That would be my biggest piece of advice.
Mark, you told me earlier, you learned the hard way about doing due diligence with charities.
Well, yeah, that's also with events, I think, a lot of the times.
Okay.
Sometimes we do get, I would say we get rooked into stuff. And the next thing you know, you're doing an event, and I didn't ask enough questions. I'm getting better at it now because, you show up and all of a sudden I'm feeling like I'm cooking these classes and there's like this whole thing going on and there's a magazine involved, there's something else. And finally in the end, I'm like, wait, these people paid a bunch of money for these tickets. Who's making this money? And you turn around and like, I know I'm not getting paid. It's like, wait a minute. So you do have to definitely, sometimes we get conned into stuff. And it's like, you got to be careful, really, I think. Because
is that your fault or your PR people?
It's my fault. I think it's my fault.
Everything,
it's my restaurant, my restaurant group. Everything's my fault. That's the way I look at it. So it's just,
right.
It's
sorry.
always a PR.
It is.
It is. It is. Don't worry. That's the way. That's who sent. When they send you an email to complain, it's always to me.
Right.
But our industry has also changed so much. So 10, 15 years ago, we did maybe 2-3 events a year. Now there's 2-3 events a week or a month.
Or a day.
Or a day, exactly. So it's very, your gut as a chef is you want to give. You want to be part of conversations. But we have to edit better.
We have to learn how to say no as well. And as I come back to what I was really saying before was about really concentrating on 2 or 3 charities really, really well to really make a difference. Because absolutely, whatever restaurant you have to hit, you're going to probably have to do the school that's in the neighborhood and then the other school that's farther south of your neighborhood. There's just so many things coming at you all the time. You have to learn how to say no nicely, and I have somebody that helps me with that because I just send an email, say no nicely, because you just can't, you can't do things half-assed, I think. And if you're going to really do it, let's do it right.
Yeah, but Steve, I think we need to separate, for example, one thing is if the organization is behind a big charity, if the top individuals in the organization are behind a big charity, and then at the restaurant level, the managers, the head chefs, that also they have their own ideas. So we need to see the different layers. For example, what Share Strength has done with Taste of the Nation is great. It's, I don't know how many cities are doing this today, but hundreds. The chefs, the restaurants at the restaurant level are able to participate. And so I may have my restaurant in Washington going to the Taste of the Nation. The restaurant feels good, the chef feels good. You help Share Strength raise X amount of money. But then the other thing is when you as an organization, you are supporting or creating a big charity. In my case, at the very beginning, kind of my organization, Thin Food Group, and my charity were too close. And what you work is to make sure that you separate them completely. Because at the end, if it's your organization or if you are supporting another organization, they need to behave like a for-profit business model. If not, it's never going to be successful. So what I'm trying only to do is my business experience, try to bring it to this other side of the equation to make sure that we operate this non-profit like a for-profit company. And then things work. And that's the way to keep moving forward.
One of the way plays also the right role in check is the boards of these organizations. And because I know a board member, if I can call up a board member, I think this, you want to know behavior for a long time, way before you maybe join. Or if you're building it, in case of Three Goats, then we have to sort of build a very solid board first. And it takes time. People don't really have a lot of time, but they want to be engaged. And the last thing I think about is also what matters to you and your organization. For me, thinking about unemployment, thinking about diversity, thinking about kitchen is also very tangible things that actually speaks to certain communities, but they're not participating in fine dining necessarily now. Well, what is the long-term solution to that? And can your organization be part of that long-term solution? And at least with CCAP, I know every day, every year, we're working towards changing that. And we have a lot of examples. It's been around for 20 years. Today, we have owners, CCAP grads that own their own businesses. They're executive chefs, they're managers, they're even master sommeliers. So he went from actually being a charitable cause where people just gave to almost an agency where people call up and say, hey, do you have a CCAP grad for me? Because I know they have good behavior and they have a great attitude. So that's sort of that arch of what conversation do we want to be part of.
So all of you have these ties to these charities that mean something to you, whether it's a personal experience or, like in your case, obviously UNICEF is very important to you. Do you need to get all the employees to buy into this too? Because they're representing you at events, they're helping you out. I mean, it's not just you by yourself, obviously. What if they're interested in lungs and cancer and other sort of social causes? How do you get everybody to buy in and to help you out and to participate?
So we've created actually an internal charitable foundation, aside from the work we're doing with Feeding America, the Evelyn and Oscar Charitable Foundation within the company that sponsors events locally at every restaurant level. So if in a particular restaurant, the staff want to go out and do a walk, a cure for cancer, they want to go, actually with the Oklahoma City tragedy about a month ago, we had staff members who wanted to go help clean up, who are from Texas and Oklahoma City. And so we sponsor that. We provide t-shirts to them, and if they're able to raise money, we match those funds. So that not only are they feel like we're doing our part with Feed America, but locally, whatever charity might be important to them, whether it's a staff member in that restaurant who had a personal experience, and so they want to raise awareness around a particular cause, the company is also willing to fund that, which I think they find important. And also, we're out there celebrating that whenever we can. When that happens, we talk about it across the company, we put it in a newsletter, and we make it important to us. Yeah.
Anybody else? Employees, getting them to help you to buy in.
Employees, very important. I learned over the years that they feel very committed to what the organization is supporting. In my case, no one has to help DC Central Kitchen or World Central Kitchen, but happens that people love that you're giving them away without, on their own, having to be thinking who to join to be part of something bigger. And I see that over the years, this has been helping me to sometimes attract good employees, sometimes retain excellent employees. But again, I don't, because they are working in my company and I love those organizations, It's not like I request for them upon hiring to join. Right. But you learn that people are just willing to throw themselves into the arms of that new organization. It happens with every time. And this, I believe, that's probably one of the best tools of why. It's not the reason why we do it. We do it because we believe we have to do it. For me, it's very hard to believe that I am in the business of feeding the few, but then you have many that have not a lot. So it's kind of an answer to say, I cannot only be in here feeding the few. I have to be part of feeding the many. And this message kind of goes well with everybody, with my team. And they are part of it because they want to, not because I'm pushing them to do it. So it's a very good tool for retention and a very good tool to bring very interesting individuals into your company.
I think the organization we just talked about, that we're involved with, Red Rooster and MSG, those are organizations that we put the whole company behind. Staff comes to us constantly with things, and there's many ways for us to partner. It could be as simple as I give books away, or we give gift certificates away. So there's many ways for us to listen to our employee and be part of it, but not necessarily on the same level as when we operate and really own the events.
Okay.
I think getting the staff engaged is the reason I think a lot of staff, they're either singers or dancers or cooks or whatever. You know, it's hard. It's very difficult actually to go give your time to an organization if you're just one person. It's not that easy to go and say, knock on a soup kitchen door and say, hey, can I work here? You know, there's a lot of mechanics involved. And I find that because I work with Share Our Strength and City Harvest, it's just, there's easier ways for my company to hook in with those organizations to get help. Like City Harvest does these great mobile markets. So we'll get 12 or 15 of our employees, whoever's not working, hey, who wants to go to the mobile market in the Bronx? And we're going to be giving away food to people that need it. And we're also going to be teaching them some recipes of how to make some healthy meals with this stuff at the actual market. And it's almost like it's like big companies do offsites or like these team building things. This is an amazing way for people to come together and do something together and they feel good about themselves and they feel good about being part of our team and being part of our company. I think you're absolutely right, Jose, about retention and why people want to work with us. That you can't just give them a paycheck every week. There's more than that just to be able to live. You have to get up in the morning and feel good about yourself. And if we can help them feel good about themselves and being part and giving back to our community and our society, I think it's a big fulfillment. It's even better than a paycheck sometimes.
Just to pile on the topic real quick, staff engagement, when you think about what today's millennial staff member, in our industry, most people are between 18 and who knows, but for us, 18 and 26, much of our staff, and they really aren't just looking for a job where they can go buy a 6-pack of beer at the end of the shift. They want to work for a company that's giving back to their communities. It's more important to today's younger generation than any generation that's come before us. So understanding that and knowing that as a small restaurateur or a large company is as important today to attraction, selection, retention, and engagement than it has ever been. And people will actually skip restaurants and not work in places because they're not giving back and they're not part of the community. So it's important at a business level more than it's ever been before.
This was sort of interesting too, that came up in the research. A third of Americans and nearly half of moms indicate that purchasing products where a portion of the proceeds go to a charity is their most preferred means of making a financial contribution to a nonprofit organization. So that is sort of interesting. And then also, nearly 9 in 10 Americans, 97% of moms, are supportive of the No Kid Hungry campaign when provided with its definition. So people want to know what you're talking about when you're donating something. But I also wanted to ask you about being nimble in this environment, because you all are associated with 2 or 3 charities and that's what you've been focused on. But what happens when there's a Katrina or a Sandy or an Oklahoma or Haiti? You have to do something else, right? There's a call to action. Do you have that built into your organization? So even despite your best efforts to do your 2 or 3 things, you're also able to do something last minute?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of different. If you're actually in the location where it happened, you have to react one way. If I'm in New York City and something happens in somewhere else, we react differently. I think a lot of the times there's a restaurant association in every state. They usually band together and try to get a dine out for that cause pretty quickly and raise money for that charity. And we we as restaurants all sort of jump on those bandwagons. I think that if you're in your own backyard, if it happens, at least for us, when Sandy happened, I had 2 restaurants that closed and 2 restaurants that were open. My main concern, first and foremost, was my immediate family of restaurants and family of restaurant workers. I have busboys, I have waiters, I have dishwashers. I have all these people that are now out of work, and I can't just start giving them all money if we're closed. I mean, it's I'm trying to get them jobs in the restaurants that I have. So you first have to hunker down and take care of your own people, and then I think you have to build them back up, and then you can go out and help other people. And I think something that you really have to be careful about is when something happens, is everybody wants to run out and give them food and blankets the first week. It's 3 months later that they're going to really need help. And that's where you can really, once you've got your community built back up, then you can start looking at ways to helping out. But you have to be strategic about it, and you don't want to just waste time. I mean, there was so many people, I think, during Sandy. Everybody has the best hearts and the best intentions, but like packing up a van full of meals and running out to the Rockaways was great. But they were like, but we have plenty of food, right? We need people shoveling today. We don't need food, you know. So you really have to use your resources and use them correctly, I think. You have to think about it. You can't just knee-jerk reaction and do anything.
Yeah, the question you're asking is, we need an entire panel only on that issue alone. My organization, World Central Kitchen, we have very, very clear guidelines that in the next 2-3 years we want to have a first response to tragedy. But for that we need to follow the leadership that happens right now through Red Cross, who are very, very much the first ones that mobilize quickly. When Sandy happened, I went up on the weekend before. I stayed at this Central Kitchen, and we were making thousands of meals because we didn't know where the hurricane was going to hit. So we prepared 10 times more meals than any given weekend, just to be ready. Thanks God, nothing happened in DC. Look, it happened north, New York. So I went to the Red Cross on Wednesday, and by Thursday I went up to New York. And I went because they asked me, Jose, we would love for you to go and see how we provided food aid immediately. And I don't think many people are aware, but when you see that the Red Cross is providing the meals, actually it's not the Red Cross, and they do a great job. It's a group of, it's called the Southern Methodist Church. And they have 52 kitchens through southern states. 52 operational kind of church ready, that when a hurricane, an earthquake, anything happens, they mobilize within 6 hours, and in 12 hours they are feeding Americans immediately. So those people have no Twitter, no Facebook, no PR, no nothing. But if you go, you're gonna see people that are 50, 60, 70 years old that usually sleep on a blanket on the floor. But that in Sandy something dramatic happened. It's the first hurricane in the history that happened so north that actually at night was freezing cold. And these guys were in the open without a place to sleep in the first couple of days. And they moved 3, 4, 5 kitchens, I think, all across North New York very quickly. So these people have the power to feed in one single day, if they put all the resources together, and they are as quick and capable of doing this, up to 400,000 meals a day. So the question you're asking, so I began learning how we provided that aid, because we learned a lot from what happened in the South, in New Orleans. We were very slow providing aid. Remember what happened in the Superdome?
Right.
We had Americans inside the Superdome for days without food because no one was bringing them food.
So what did you learn?
Think about it. We had the Superdome, right? We had 50,000 Americans there. And what we have inside the arena? A whole bunch of kitchens that provide foods on the game days. The only thing we had to do was to have a system of cooks, volunteering, to being able to bring them there, a whole bunch of trucks full of hot dogs and buns and sausages, put them inside the Superdome, and you are feeding 50,000 Americans overnight. Efficient, quick, smart, everything of the above. This is kind of the learnings. And still, I believe we are not as prepared. We are quicker providing relief to Haiti than sometimes we've been to provide relief to our own in America, believe it or not.
Right.
So what I've learned is that we are okay, but we are not as sophisticated as we should to be providing that first aid. So myself with World Central Kitchen, that's what we're looking. How can we use the soup kitchens? What mechanisms we have of delivering that food? Do we need a aircraft that is the biggest kitchen in the ocean? That if New Orleans happens, we're able to bring an aircraft with hundreds of cooks inside providing thousands of meals per day in an area that is being devastated by a hurricane? Or LA, if an earthquake happens, are we ready to provide meals if we get the big earthquake in LA? Anyway, organizations like ours, I think you said it, we cannot use because something happens, go there, because sometimes we create more problems than solutions.
Right.
You have no gas, your car runs out of gas,
I just
you
want
are
to
stuck.
I want to see if David or Marcus want to add to this at all.
I would just add that for us, being a public company, a large public company with plenty of policies and procedures and rules and regulations, the most important thing I think that we've tried to do is empower the general manager in each individual restaurant to do what they think is best in a moment of crisis, whether it's the restaurants in the Northeast during Sandy or what just happened in Oklahoma City, that they know that whatever it may say in a policy or procedure book and what standard operating procedures may be, that they're empowered to make the best decision for that community in that crisis, whether it's to stay open because they're able to supply jobs for the staff and to feed people because everybody else may be closed, or to go help a cleanup effort or whatever it may be, that they don't have to worry or think about the company and are they going to do something right or wrong. Knowing that they're doing something within their communities, we're empowering them to do something that's right all the time. And that's one way we can ensure that the right thing's happening in the moment if those restaurants want to engage and help their local community when crisis occurs.
I want to ask, go ahead.
Yeah, I just learned from being in New York at these two major events like 9/11 that really changed downtown in terms of restaurant and how quick all the chefs and restaurants really supported it. But it's also, as of that, I think that really helped us to do when Sandy happened. We really, and Marc's point is really important. Your regular waiters, busters, all of them, it's also about how do we, on a local level, take care of our first staff. And then with City Harvest, which was not really prepared, it was not really an organization that could help at Sandy right away, but it completely changed its course because of the need was so big. So in City Harvest, we had to quickly sort of change how we operate so we could actually be part and help out. And I was very impressed with the big organization of City Harvest. Very quickly took a decision, said, this is not normal on a board level what we should be doing, but we have to. So, and I think as we know this climate and food, which we are part of also, those type of incidents, as sad as it will not go down, and most likely will go up. We will have these challenges. I think it's very important that we learn from each one, just like Jose was saying, and then we communicate that up quickly so we know we're better prepared for the next one.
Well, a very important thing, as an example of City Harvest, we basically at City Harvest became first responders after Sandy because they were already there. We have a huge warehouse. We have an enormous amount of trucks to be able to move food around, and we could also gather a lot of volunteers in our warehouse to start packing meals. So once we started doing that, and then Feeding America started sending trucks, but they didn't want to just send them, and the Red Cross as well, sending food, but you can't just send food. You got to do it in an organized way. So what happened after Sandy is Marcus and I are on the board of sat in the board, and with all the other board members, it's like, well, wait a minute, we are a food rescue organization. We're not a first responder organization. But if stuff like this is going to happen in our backyard, we have to be ready. So what's happening now is we've actually hired a company that come in to study the reaction that we had, how it happened, how it could be better, so we can start writing policy and writing what are we going to do next time. And next time will we be more organized? Will we have 4 people that will be responsible for getting volunteers on a schedule when they can show up? Because everybody wants to help right away. All of a sudden you got 1,000 people in line wanting to help. It's like, well, that's useless. I only need 100. Yeah. I need another 100 tomorrow, and I need 100 the next day, and I need 100 in 3 weeks. But so let's get organized and all that. And I think that everybody's you learn more and more. And as these organizations get bigger and better, we're getting better at it.
I want you to maybe each think of an example of how this can improve the bottom line, because I know what you're doing it's charitable. It's not about making money, but my question is there a way to improve the bottom line? And one example was what Shake Shack did last year. They partnered with Share Our Strength for something called Great American Shake Sale, Guests who donated $2 or more to No Kid Hungry got a coupon for a free shake on their next visit. They focused on engaging employees, educating them, had an in-house competition for the location that raised the most. They got a buzz in the restaurants through signage. They raised $285,000 for Share Our Strength, doubled their results from previously. And then they had a redemption rate, a coupon redemption rate of 44% over the course of 2 months, which equaled about 68,000 shakes. So I'm curious, can you improve the bottom line? Can you get customers in as a result of charitable efforts?
I think that you have to, another due diligence when you're picking a charity that you're going to support. You know, charities are always asking a lot from you, but you also have to go and talk to the charity and say, well, what are you going to do for us? How can you do things for us? And that Share Our Strength model, what happened right there, that was a brainchild of Share Our Strength with Shake Shack coming up with this idea. And that's a great example of how a charity can also help you, because you want them to be part of it. And I know that for the Dine Out for No Kid Hungry campaign, there's a lot of restaurants that are doing this sort of coupon redemption thing going on, but it's basically, I mean, our business is all about getting asses in the seats, and that's if a charity can help you to have that happen, that it's a win-win for everybody. You're going to be happy as a business owner. They're going to be happy as a charity because they're not just asking and taking all the time. They're helping give back. So you have to work with a charity that's going to help you sort of raise awareness of your business as well.
It's okay to ask them what they're going to do for you.
Well, you can ask them.
So.
You could, but it's also, these charities also have great boards, and you can also suggest to the board, hey, you guys, as privately or with your private companies, will go out and eat. Support the restaurants that are supporting there. I mean, I've gotten enormous support from both UNICEF and City Harvest board members on privately, and they come in to support the restaurant. And that's not, I think that's a fair trade, because you're going to do a lot for them, and then you can ask that back. The second thing I think is, like, especially where I'm situated, by employing and working on sort of with CCAP and taking those students into the restaurant, it helps the bottom line because they're active. The other option, I always say that young adults can cook for you or steal your car. That's the option, and it's a very tangible thing in my neighborhood. So engagement. So the other option is not doing anything. So I think there's a very direct thing that you can actually get out of.
I think the bottom line for us is we're not a marketing organization. We never have been. We're fortunate in that way. And we look at all the charitable work that we do as just who we are and what we want to be doing. And the bottom line we're going to get back from that is really around engagement and retention. It's an expectation that our staff have of us because it's been our culture for 35 years now. But we don't overtly go out and talk about what we're doing. We don't publicize what we're doing. It's amazing what gets picked up through social media. So I think there is a positive that even if you're not overtly talking about what you're doing, if you are out there making a difference, it will get picked up on social media and people will start talking about it, and it will resonate in a positive way about your brand. So we've been cautious to ever celebrate what we're doing because it's not about us, it's about others. But we do know that retention statistics and engagement statistics go up when we're involved and more heavily involved in any charitable giving in any way.
And do any of you see an advantage or disadvantage? I alluded to earlier something about, there's a stat about a third of Americans said they would purchase products where a portion of the proceeds goes to help something. Do you have an opinion whether it's adding $1 or $2 to a check versus, or like you said, 25 cents or something goes to it versus come to this event, pay $100, $125, and the proceeds go? Do you have an opinion about either of those two? Add a buck or two, give a percentage to something, or come to this event for $125, $300?
I think you have to do what's right for your brand and what's right for whether you're a chef-driven concept or a bigger concept. You have to do just what feels right. I don't know that there's a perfect answer to that. I think that different guests in different communities are looking for different ways to engage in giving back to charity. But most importantly, it has to resonate with who you are and the culture that you're trying to create within your food organization.
I do know, though, that people, especially young adults, wants to feel and read about it before. They don't necessarily want to go in through the front door. The front door might actually start on their phone. They want to read about you in their way, on their time. And an engagement through social media makes sort of build up the storytelling first, and that's a way for them to want to participate with you. Before it was much more direct. Here's my restaurant, we're open, here's our hours operation, come. That's still a big portion of our business, but another huge part of our business is also today that people want to come in through different types of content and storytelling, and a charitable cause can be part of that.
I don't like discounts or happy hour mentality. One of the events we're going to do, the second one, was with the World Poker Tour. That last year we did a big tournament in LA, and I got poker players and basketball players to play, and we raise money. People pay to play with their favorite NBA players or favorite poker players, and we raise money. I like more this kind of engagement. Me, I think I agree more with you in the sense of we do it, and I think sometimes we get even too much credit of helping the organization and the nonprofit. Me, I always say that I get far away more than what we are even able to give, and especially for the reasons we spoke before. Employee retention, and you are hiring the right kind of people because they want to be with you, besides because you are a great company, because they see you are. So all of those things, they have a value that is very difficult to explain.
And I have a minutia question. You're all very busy. I can't imagine you're actually organizing these events by yourselves. So who's doing this for you?
Very quickly, in my board, I've becoming, as a company, more sophisticated. I got a group of great investors like Steve Case, founder of American Online. So I'm very happy the kind of board I've been able to build. And part of this new company I'm creating, I put that 10% by Monday of my time can be donated to charity. But obviously, it's not to organize the event.
Right.
I have
I mean, do you hire someone to do this? Someone in your
it.
organization does this for you?
Yeah.
Okay.
So some people within my organization, ThinFood Group, and some people in the charities.
Okay.
Right.
But again, I keep saying, I'm trying to move away the charity work away from my business making. You have to start being more forward thinker, because if not, sometimes I feel like you put way too much weight on your organization to make these non-profit approaches. So I'm trying to professionalize the non-profit away from the company. But at the beginning, you use the people in your organization to make it happen. But I'm trying to move it away, because if not, it's kind of unfair to everybody.
Right. Mark?
Well, you definitely have to rely, obviously, on people that are around you somewhat, but you definitely want to also lean on the charities to do most of the work on, because they have a staff and that's what a lot of them do. And that's also another, as you're looking at the DNA of a charity, do you want to have an organization that has that support that's going to help you organize that, or do they have a really good volunteer program that gets the events put together? Because putting together an event is no easy task, as we all know. It's quite a lot of work, and if it lands on my catering sales team and my catering team, well, now I'm not only donating my time, but all these other people, I still have to pay those people.
Right.
No,
Okay.
same thing.
Okay.
I mean, we do it in an organization, but basically
Same thing.
same
Okay. Last point I'm going to make, and then I'll open up for questions. One thing Mark and I were talking about earlier, I was asking about how do you do due diligence on charities. There's a website, charitynavigator.com.
Right.
So you can it's sort of like the Better Business Bureau of charities. You can kind of look up, see who they are, what percentage of what they raise goes to the actual charity, right?
Yeah, and I think the salaries of a lot of the
Salaries of the people.
salaries of the people that run it.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, Charity
I
Navigator.
think the question people have to ask themselves, as a business, as an individual, every day since we have more NGOs. In the case of Haiti, I made a big kind of leap of faith of saying, we have more NGOs, but the country is doing not better, but worse. That's why we need to start thinking about, are we creating the right nonprofits that are really becoming part of finding solution to the real problems?
Well, you live in D.C., so I'm going to let you do a lot of that work for us. Okay. Any questions for our panel? Yes, in the back. Just say who you are, where you're from. They'll come to you with a microphone.
Can you hear me?
We'll make sure it's turned on.
It's on. Oh, you can. Here you go. Hey, I'm Dominique Love, and I'm the owner of the Atlanta Food and Wine Festival, but I also own an agency called Corporate Community Outsourcing. we're 10 years old. We're the agency that created Food and Wine's Grow for Good campaign, and we also have done a lot of work with major companies like Coke, Delta, Home Depot. NASCAR is one. And I remember when we were working with NASCAR, how I was so impressed and overwhelmed by the NASCAR fans. And they were so dedicated and loyal, and we created this campaign called NASCAR Unites. Well, then fast forward, my business partner and I start the Atlanta Food and Wine Festival, and we're thrust into this amazing world of the restaurant and hospitality world. And I was really struck by the depth of your dedication and the reach that you all have, and the number of consumers that you reach. I think all of the programs that you've talked about are really wonderful, and you've talked about a lot of things that we consider best practices. But I continue to wonder about how do we engage consumers, and so that cause marketing isn't just about paying and giving money, but it's also attitudinal change. So for example, we talk a lot about Share Our Strength and Feeding America. If I'm a consumer in Mississippi, for example, and I'm at John Currance's place and I'm getting a great ham biscuit, and $5 from that ham biscuit goes to Share Our Strength. As a consumer, am I aware that Mississippi also has the highest rate of childhood obesity and the highest rate of childhood hunger? And am I engaged deeper in that? And I like your perspective on that, on how you all are engaging your consumers in a deeper level. Marcus, you kind of touched on it a little bit with CCAP, but what are the tricks to getting the consumers to do more than just buy and know that $5 is going to something? Because I really think that we've got just really wonderful consumers that are going into the restaurants, and I've seen some remarkable things happening in the industry, but how do you really leverage that in the right way to truly create movements and make a lot of change?
Without turning them off and preaching to them, because like you said, they want to come and enjoy themselves. So, right.
They do, and I think that you have to, the consumer, I mean, if you think about a charity, they're a business as well, and one of the jobs of the charity is to get the information about what they're doing to the people. They get it to us because we're obviously on the front lines in a certain respect, but we have to get that information to the people that are buying that $5 sandwich about what those charities are doing. I think that's something that's very important, and I think that comes back to just going back to the awareness conversation, having the awareness that these problems exist, and then people might get more concerned and might read more about what the charities are doing to solve this problem. I think that's probably the most difficult piece of the puzzle to put together, to be able to, everybody wants to go raise money for a charity, but then we need to get the consumers to follow through, and I definitely think that's definitely something that's very difficult, but it should be up to the charities as well to be able to get that information out there, either sending emails with newsletters like we would do for restaurants.
Well, it's really communication and showing up great example of goals that you achieved, like with CCAP. When we have a master sommelier, which is a great thing for us, we communicate, talk a lot about that. We talk about the restaurant owner that we developed 15 years ago.
You say like the server tells the customer about this?
But there's many ways of touch points, right? There is a touch point of the website, social media, newsletter, the event that they want to engage with, the event that we can do for them. So there's numerous points of where there's the right way, where I think the consumer can get information, starting on a website, and if you want to dig deeper, calling the organization or the current organization getting back to you. But we also, through Twitter and Facebook, through Twitter and Instagram, you can, hey, go to Jonathan's new restaurant. He's a CCAP grad. Boom.
Mm-hmm. And it's also getting people in the media to be interested as well, to write a story about it. I think that's something that's very important too. Everybody reads I think the local newspapers, as we talk about doing these big charities, but having restaurants being empowered and doing local things, local newspapers are very important as well in getting people to know what you're doing.
It's good that you still have a local newspaper in your town.
And what the charity's doing, exactly.
Yeah. Anyone else? No other questions? All right, well,
easy.
Anything you want to add?
In the back?
Yeah, I'm sorry, in the back, yep, I didn't see you.
Hello? Does it sound? Okay. So my name is Gillian Quinn, and I run the Bogota Wine and Food Festival down in Colombia. And I'm here to ask you about the responsibility of becoming such international food figures that are inspiring for not only the American public, but also for the international public. And how do you manage to choose you know, not only the organization, but also the country that you support if you do that?
It's a good question. I was going to ask you about local versus international, or both, or how do you decide?
Well, for me, international was a very simple question. We have a lot of issues at home, but if we have issues also in Mexico and we have issues in the Caribbean, we're going to keep not only having people that they are living on poverty or with hunger, but immigration that everyone is talking right now, right? If we don't solve the issues in Mexico, we are always going to be having people coming to the States. Illegal immigration. The same from Cuba, the same Dominican Republic, the same the Caribbean islands. So for me, doing an organization like in Haiti is not the reason why I do it. I'm not doing it so we don't have more illegal immigration coming into the States. But those are kind of the positives of engaging, in this case, in Mexico or in Haiti. I'm about to be engaging in another with another project in Kenya, another one in, we are thinking about Peru. I'm going to be visiting in September. The idea of international is exactly that. It's like I can have a high quality of living in Washington, D.C. I understand that 5 minutes away from the White House is people today in America that are hungry, but also is the reality that our countries where we are buying our shirts and shoes and everything we buy in Walmart is made, that those people are in amazing need. And it's almost kind of saying, shit, I have to start doing something in those other parts of the world. So it's only kind of saying, I need to try to be, again, part of the solution and not just keep living a life and a dream that is actually not such a dream. So it's kind of be more pragmatic about the issue. So how we choose Haiti for me was simple. Was the most difficult country I could go because Creole, I don't speak Creole, French. I could go into Colombia or Dominican Republic, easier for me, my language. But I went into the most difficult place I could. And many of the projects I do is in the most difficult areas. Why? Because if I'm able to be successful there, I know I could be successful anywhere.
I think, I'm not sure if this is part of the question, but I think that when you're looking at a food festival and you're deciding what you're going to do, if it's international or national or local or whatever, I think that when you're doing food festivals, we obviously have a lot of food festivals going now, I think you really have to look at what that festival is supporting as well to see what because they're now another conduit to our due diligence of what we're doing. Like, are we going to go to a festival that's going to help certain charities that we have feelings about, or are we going to go to a festival that we're not really that connected to? We should really concentrate on those thought processes as well as we go forward, because they're just getting to be more and more, and
yep.
and they're out there. So I think that if you're running a food festival, you have to be it has to be well run. It also has to be well run for the charity to make money, and the information has to flow.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, so there are comment cards on your tables. Would love if you'd fill them out and turn them in on your way out. We're going to draw one winner for a $50 American Express gift card at the end of the programs. Tomorrow morning, we're back here at 9 a.m. or 9:15? 9:15. Harnessing the power of the web is going to be super interesting. Grant Achatz from Alinea and Next, Richard Blaze from Atlanta, Mike Church from Darden. It's going to be very interesting. We're going to show some examples on the screen, and we've got a trade luncheon tomorrow, I believe, as well. So, yep.
Happy hour.
And happy hour. There's a happy hour right now, isn't there?
Yes, there is.
Fantastic. How about a hand for our panel? Thank you so much for coming.
Good job.
Thank you.
Jeffrey.
Thank you. Thank you.